Hello, welcome here or welcome back. My name is Michaela. I'm a wife, a mom, and a knitter from British Columbia, Canada, and this is Galanthus Knits. Hi, welcome back. I am a little bit sick. I don't know if you can tell. We've been sick for quite a few weeks. Some sort of lung congestion and fevers, and it was awful. It has been awful, but I am hopefully slowly getting better. I still have some congestion, and I will be coughing a lot during this video, but I'm going to edit out my cough. So if there's a lot of editing segments like being pieced together, that is why. I have some exciting whips to show you, a couple of small finished objects, and then some exciting plans for the coming couple of months. Some colorful plans. I have a lot of color in my knitting queue, so I would love to talk about those things before I actually get started on them, so that I can just, for myself but also for you, to see kind of what my plans are and what I'm thinking. And then I have a couple of acquisitions to show you, but all my acquisitions are books, knitting books, rather than yarn. So I haven't bought any new yarn for a while. Yes, I am wearing a knitted scrunchie, and I used the Cashmere twist scrunchie, I think that's a free pattern on Ravelry, as a reference, but I didn't follow it exactly. I ended up kind of doing my own thing. But this is with scrap Samsøe in the color Light Moss, which is a discontinued color. And then I am also wearing matching socks. So my socks are the same yarn. Ugh. And they're my Bananduin socks by Fox and Folk, which was my very first and only test knit that I did last year for her. So yeah, I'm kind of matching on the bottom and on the top today with my knits, which I think is fun and colorful for this. Sorry, there's a rocking chair here if you can see it kind of swaying because I kicked it. Yeah, it's fun and colorful for this fun and colorful video. So I also have my mug of Yorkshire tea, so I will be sipping on this. Ooh, it's very full and hot. Anytime I have a kind of resurgence of missing my life in the UK, what it used to be like when I lived in the UK, or missing bits of it, I make myself a cup of Yorkshire tea with just milk. And I am slightly transported back to the little bungalow I lived in Chester, England. Okay, I'm going to start with a couple of finished objects, and they're all small, but have already gotten a lot of really good use out of them. So the first one that I want to talk about is, what is it called? Ingeborg headband. This is a pattern by PetiteKnit, but it's quite an old pattern. I don't know when it was published. Maybe I can write that on the side. But I bought this pattern a long time ago to practice my brioche stitch because I had never done brioche before. And I bought the pattern and then just never casted it on. So I finally did that. And I had a jolly good time doing this. I, again, had never done brioche before, and I was a little bit intimidated just because just from what I've heard. Like, I didn't even look up how to do it. I was just like, oh, other people say it's hard, or uses up a lot of yarn, or takes a lot of time, and so that intimidated me, and so I never tried it. And now that I've tried it, I love it. It does take up more yarn than just a normal stockinette stitch, obviously, but it's beautiful. It's nice and squishy. It fits my head really well because of the brioche. I think like I've done other headbands in the past that have been like not very stretchy, or they stretch out and they don't stretch back, whereas this one, I've worn it a lot so far. Like I knitted it like 2 weeks ago, and because I'd been sick, I wore it a lot because it kind of just kept my I didn't have to wash my hair, like it kept my greasy hair back and whatever. So yeah, I knitted this originally for running purposes because I don't like wearing toques when I'm running because I feel like that's too hot, but then my ears get cold. So I wanted something kind of that would keep my ears warm, but then also give my head some breathing space. And I decided to tackle this project. Now, the yarns that I used, I knitted this with 3 strands, right? 3 strands? Yeah, 3 strands. 3 strands. Okay. I held sorry. I held the U2 Yarn mellow fingering wool that I bought at Flock Fiber Festival double, and then I held 1 strand of Knitting for Olive merino in the color Dusty Honey. So it has a lot of variation because of the U2 Yarn wool that I used, because that was a very like colorful, varied yarn. But then it has the yellow, the Dusty Honey, as sort of a base to keep it more yellow toned rather than white toned, because if you remember, if you've been here a while, back in October, I believe, I was knitting a toque in the U2 Yarn wool, and I decided that it was too white toned for me. It did have yellow and orange flecks in it, but I wanted more yellow, so I ended up holding that together with Dusty Honey to make a toque. And then I ended up not liking the construction of that hat, so I frogged it. So I made this out of those scraps instead, and I actually have enough yarn left to make another toque if I wanted to in the same basis. So I might do that in the future because I really like this color, this like kind of marling effect, I guess, that it gave. I love yellow. Yellow is my favorite color, and so you might see a lot of yellow from me. I don't know. I always want more yellow in my wardrobe. So this is like the perfect, kind of more the perfect outcome, where it's like not just a block color, but not too crazy that it's kind of all over the place. It's a good mix, I think. Anyway, that's that. Finished that. Has worn it a lot. Haven't worn it for running yet because, again, I've been sick. And I do not like risking anything to have to do with my lungs. Like when I get sick, like in here in my chest area, I just like kind of stop all exercise besides walking because I'm like, I don't want to have to cough up my lungs. So I'm waiting for that to heal before I start running again. Anyhow, okay, 2 more little finished objects, and they are for my daughter. So the first is another one of those Pixie Dixie hats. I've knitted so many of these for her, and they're my husband's favorite, so he's always putting them on her when he takes her outside, and he's always telling me to knit more in larger sizes. So here is another one. Yeah, it goes on like that. And I used a scrap cotton yarn that I don't have the label of anymore. But as you can see, it has a lot of flecks of other colors in it. So it's got pink, brown, and this kind of green. Actually, it's very similar to this green on a cream background. Now, this, because it's cotton, this wasn't really intended for winter use. It was more like a spring hat because it just won't be warm enough for how cold and windy it gets here in the winter sometimes, which it has been in the past couple weeks, although she has been wearing this a little bit, but I prefer her in wool at this time of year. But one of the issues I had with this, actually, I'd never used this cotton yarn. I think it was gifted to me literally when I was a child. I'm pretty sure I've had this yarn in my stash since I was a kid, and I'd never used it. So I decided to go ahead and use some of it. I still have some left. But then I wet blocked it, and the colors bled quite significantly. And I don't know if you can tell, but on the top of the hat, there's like a line of blood colors. You may not be able to tell actually from camera, but I can tell. And there's like another blotch here where it's leaked a lot. Now, it used to be worse, and I ended up using, I've got like a natural stain remover stick that I use for like child stains that I just buy at my local Once Upon a Child. And I used that on this hat, and it did help a little bit, but it still shows. So that's a little bit disappointing. I don't think that like the average person would be able to tell, especially not on a toddler that's running around and not sitting still. But I can tell, and it is bothering me a bit. But she'll still wear it. I don't really know what I'm going to do with the rest of the yarn that I have. I think I used less than half of what I had in my stash of this yarn. So I still have a lot left to use for other things. And it's really beautiful, but it bleeds a lot, and it's cotton. And I don't like working with cotton. I just needed to use up the yarn. So that's that. And then another thing that I made for my daughter is this little scarf. So it looks like this. And then on the end here, there's like a little loop. And you pop one of the ends into the other end. And it sits on her neck like that. Is that in focus? Yeah, so I met up with a friend, a childhood friend, for the first time in a long time, because she moved kind of near, not well. We met halfway, and it took us each an hour to get to our location, but we're a couple hours apart now, which is the closest we lived together since we were kids. So we met up, and she has 2 daughters, and she's a knitter, and her mom is actually who taught me how to knit when I was a kid. And both her daughters were wearing scarves like this, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant, because it covers the neck, but it only wraps around once, so it doesn't get in the way of any kid playing. And then she said also, like, her 3-year-old enjoys putting it on herself, like she can do the little interlocking thing, and then yeah, and it works out. So I told her that I was 100% going to copy her idea of doing a scarf like this, and she was like, yeah, go for it. But the pattern she used is no longer available, so I went on Ravelry and I looked for a similar pattern. And I found what is it called? It's called this. I'll put it here. And it's is it a free? I think it is a free pattern on Ravelry as well. And I used that as a reference, but I did modify a little bit to be more similar to the one that my friend had for her daughters. And the modifications that I made were that in this section where the loop is, I did ribbing instead of, I think they had either stockinette or continued garter. I did ribbing there because I wanted something to break it up and be a little bit more stretchy. And then I just modified the pattern to be the length for a child rather than an adult. So those are the modifications I made for this, and I knitted this in Scrap Durarum Natura Albertine in the color Chocolatio, hot chocolate, which was left over from when I made the Baby Bella dress for my daughter in the fall, which she hasn't worn yet because it's still too big for her, but she'll wear it in the spring. Sorry, I just found little bits of snack on this scarf. Yeah, anyhow, she's gotten a lot of wear out of this. It's really lovely. I was thinking about knitting my daughter a balaclava for this year. She had one for last year, but I never got around to it, and so I think knitting a scarf is kind of a nice compromise, as in this part of her neck is still quite covered, and then she can wear her little bonnets as well, and I think it's fine. She's been using this pretty much every day when she goes outside these days, so it's really cute on her, and she likes it. Whenever I put it on her, she's always like, oh, my scarf. So I think that's really sweet. Okay, I have one active whip and I have one other whip that I showed you last video that I haven't made any progress on, so I'll just quickly mention it. And that was the Peacock shirt made into sweater with the Snowdonia sock yarn, and I haven't really made much progress on it. I think I may have knitted a bit more on the body and then maybe a bit more on the sleeve. Actually, I don't even know how much of the sleeve I had done last time I showed you. Maybe I hadn't done the sleeve yet, but I have part of one sleeve. Yeah, I have part of one sleeve complete. It doesn't look great right now, but yeah, I haven't made too much progress on this, and the reason for that is because it's fingering weight on 3mm needles, and it's right now all I'm doing is straight stockinette stitch. So it's a really good knit to like bring to church, to knit during church. I'm a church knitter. I knit during church every Sunday. Quietly. I never use like DPNs because those are a lot louder, and I never use metal needles. I only ever do like stockinette in the round with wooden needles at church because it's quiet. It's like not really noticeable and it's mindless. So anyway, this is like my church knit basically right now. So it'll take me a little while to finish it, and I'm okay with it being kind of a slower knit now. That was my New Year cast on, if you hadn't seen my previous video. So I casted that on the 1st of January. And yeah, I'm still working on it. But my main whip that I've been working on recently is the Alpine Paca sweater that I mentioned in my last video that I'm knitting with Kensington Prairie Farms. Oh no! There's a dropped stitch. Hold on, let me pick that up again. That's scary. Okay. Oh no. One stitch dropped, but it went down 3 rows, so I have to re-knit those 3. Hold on. Okay, I picked it up. It looks kind of uneven now, but I think the blocking will sort that out later. Anyway, whew, scary times. Okay, so my Alpine Paca sweater with using the Kensington Prairie Farms alpaca silk blend that I picked up at the farm itself last month. And yeah, I really wanted to make this sweater with it, but I didn't actually put the alpacas in. So if you see my last video, I mentioned that I didn't like how deep the yoke was, and it seemed perfect because I'm like, I went to an alpaca farm, I picked up alpaca wool that's like Canadian grown, Canadian spun, and I felt like it was just like all the things were aligning. Like I found the Alpine Paca sweater in the Petite Knitter's book, and I was like, this is perfect, but I didn't like how deep the yoke was. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized that a piece like that just wouldn't be as wearable for me. Like I wouldn't want to put a sweater with alpacas on my body every day. So I sacrificed the kind of like stars aligning perfect scenario for wearability. And I think that that's a more practical choice for me to make. And so I'll show you what it looks like without the alpacas in it. And I absolutely love it. Yeah, so it just feels very botanical rather than very like Peruvian, I guess. And that's kind of just more my vibe, I think. And yeah, so there's kind of 3 lines of motifs here, and then the 4th was meant to be the alpacas down here. And in the chart, by the time you get to the alpacas, there's no more increases being done. So it's easy to kind of just take that out and then decide how deep you want your yoke, because you don't have to be increasing more stitches in that section, if that makes sense. So I just chose not to, and I did less rows before I broke for sleeves or split for sleeves. Another modification that I made was that I did a double folded neckline rather than the sort of mock neck that they have in the original sample, just because I don't like that. Two more modifications that I made actually. One is that I added short rows to the back because there wasn't any back shaping to make the back, longer and the neckline scoop down. And I know that I'll hate that. I'll hate to feel like something is kind of suffocating me, or like pulling back on my neck. So I added short rows to the back after the color work. So right after I finished this line of leaves on the back, I just muddled some short rows. And I didn't really think too hard about it. I just went for it. And it worked out. Okay, the other modification that I made is that I took my measurements for the garment, and with the recommended positive ease, I was sitting at around a size 4. So I started knitting a size 4, and then when I originally got to the last increase, it increased so rapidly. I think it was like every 6 stitches you were making a new stitch. And I was like, this feels way too wide. But I kept knitting. I did my short rows and I kept knitting, and then I broke for sleeves, and then I tried it on, and it was just like sitting perfectly up until this point, and then it was just like wide. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure if other people have encountered this problem with this pattern, but I just found like the last increases were just way too rapid. And so I ripped back everything up until the end of this motif, the leaf motif, and then I fudged the numbers a bit so that I could transition into a size 3 from then onwards. So basically I've knitted a size 4 for the yoke, and then I'm knitting a size 3 for everything else. And I did that just by looking at the number of stitches I needed to get to for it to be a size 3, and then I increased that amount, which was significantly less for my last increase. And then I just kind of continued on as if I was knitting a size 3. So I have done something similar like this to a lot of my patterns that I've knitted, where I just feel like there's kind of an in-between size that needs to happen. I find that with baby knits a lot, because baby knits end up being, for me at least, they always end up being wider than they need to be, so that my child always grows out of them lengthwise way before she grows out of them widthwise. So I usually make things longer, or I'll knit a size smaller than what she needs, but then make it longer, and that usually fits her. So I do this sort of half and half thing with patterns a lot, actually, and it's usually worked out for me. And I tried this on, maybe I'll put some footage of me wearing it, but I did try this on last night, and it works really, really well. I am going to make the sweater cropped because I am going to wear it over like dresses and things. I wear dresses most of the time. Today I'm wearing dungarees, but most of the time I wear dresses or skirts. So I like a sort of high-waisted sweater. Plus I am very naturally pear-shaped. So I've got a big bottom compared to the top. So like long sweaters on me, I don't love it. Unless they've kind of got a split hem, and then my hips have like room to breathe. But yeah, so this will be really cropped. The thing is, I might be playing yarn chicken again. And if you know me, you'll be like, why did you do this to yourself again? But anyway, I have 100 gram skein left that I haven't broken to yet, and then I have this ball left. So basically what I'm doing is I'm finishing this sleeve, and then using whatever is left from this yarn ball to lengthen the bottom, and then I'm going to do the same with the next sleeve, and then whatever I have left is how long I can make it. My goal is to make it to my natural waist, but I think it might be slightly shorter in the end. But I am almost done this sleeve, so I will have yarn left over. I have about 2 centimeters to knit before I do the 5 centimeter rib, so I think there's going to be enough to lengthen my bottom. But I have no problem eventually driving out to Kensington Prairie Farms and picking up another skein if it comes to that. But I don't mind like an ultra cropped sweater. It just needs to be slightly longer than where it's at now, because where it's at now is like not even fully covering my bust. So I just need it to go slightly lower than that, and I think it'll be good. So that's my update on this sweater. It is luxurious. This yarn is so nice and soft, and you can feel like the softness from the alpaca, but also kind of that sturdiness from the silk as well. Like it doesn't feel, some alpacas I've used feel very delicate, and this one doesn't feel like that. So I'm hoping it wears well. I know that it'll probably be somewhat pilly because alpaca yarn tends to be, but I'm hoping that the silk will help hold things together a little bit better. Yeah, so that's super exciting. So I definitely will have that done for the shearing in May that I wanted to wear this at. However, that's going to be weather dependent, because if it's super hot this May, then I'm not going to wear that sweater. So it just depends. You never know. You really never know. May is one of those months that's could be very could be very hot, could be very cold, could be very cold in the morning and then very hot in the afternoon. So okay, I have some exciting knitting plans. Very looking forward to spring. I actually have something really exciting coming up for spring that I'm going to save for next video. But I have some kind of going into spring knitting plans that I would like to talk about now. Okay, so the first I've kept in a shoebox, because I want to keep all the yarn for this project together with my swatches and my labels and everything, because I've had this plan for almost a year, I think. Anyway, we're getting to it this spring. I would like to knit for my daughter the Porcelain Sweater Junior, I think it's called, the kids version of the Porcelain Sweater by Lene Holme Samsøe. Here is the picture. Last year, Myrtle Yarns had a sale on some of their small sets, mini skein sets, I guess. And I picked up one of the sets, and I picked up the Californian set. So that's what the color combination was named. And so I got 5 minis. In the set. And so we've got like a dark purple, a light purple. Yeah, would you consider this like lavender and lilac or something? This really light pink, this kind of ocean blue, and then this more magenta pink. Reminds me of like the pink hydrangeas, when the hydrangeas are pink like this. Hydrangea blue, and then lilac and lavender. So it's very, I don't know what this one would be. I'm trying to think of a really light pink flower. Peony? Probably, it's a little bit lighter than a peony. But anyway, this is very floral to me. Very garden-esque. And I have these in my skein, I have these in my stash from when I lived in the UK. I picked these up at my local Abercan when I lived in England. And they are Sublime Luxury brand by Sirdar. Isabella. 55% wool and 45% cotton. So it's a cotton wool blend. This is just a white, like a cream color. It's shade 0641 if you are interested. Here. So I have 5.5. I must have used it for something else, but I don't remember what. Skeins of this that I'm going to use for my main color. And then I had the idea of using these as the contrast colors because as you can see, there's kind of 5 different sections to the color work motif. There's the top, in the main body, there's the top, the middle, and the bottom, and then on the sleeves, there's the top and the bottom. So there's 5 different sections. And I have 5 colors from that mini set that I got. So I thought these would be perfect. The only thing that I am concerned about is the contrast between the light pink and then the main color, which is basically nothing. So I don't think I'm going to end up using this in it in the end, but I will use the rest of the colors. And I thought this would be really cute and really springy. Yeah, it just really colorful, but not in a sort of in your face type way, and just really fun for a kid knit is like a colorful porcelain sweater for her. So I am going to cast that on quite soon. I think I needed to fudge the gauge a little bit because the porcelain sweater is a fingering weight sweater, and these are more sport weight. They're not quite DK, but I did do a swatch, and not a Colorworks swatch, but just a regular stockinette swatch, just to see where we were with the yarn, and it's okay. Yeah, I did it on 3mm needles, which is the needle size that you're meant to do for the pattern, and it did turn out like slightly more dense than maybe what I'm picturing for the porcelain sweater, but it's honestly not a big deal. And I could also, because it's a kid knit, going up a needle size and making it slightly larger than you're meant to is fine, because she'll fit into it next year. So it doesn't really matter that much. At least I find that you can mess around with gauge a lot more for kid knits than you can for adult knits. Anyhow, so that's my plan. And if I don't end up using this, which I probably won't, to be honest, I'm going to just use scrap yarn from other projects to put in another color. Maybe, I don't know, would it be funky if I did like a yellow? Like it just, to me, it's like spring going into summer flowers, and yellow is, well, my heart is for yellow, so I just want yellow. But yeah, would this be nice with the yellow, or should I do like a different pink or something? I don't know. We'll see. Well, maybe I'll save the last color for the last band, like the last color work motif that I have to do, and see what color I feel like fits. But anyway, that's my plan for that, and I'm going to cast that on, I think, quite soon. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I wanted to chat with you guys about it first before I actually started. But now that that's out of the way. Okay, and then the last colorful plan that I have for the spring is something that I've talked about, I think, in my Flock Fiber Festival recap video from August. So yeah, one of the main things that I was shopping for when I was at Flock was for a gift that I'm going to make for my friend Elena. And Elena is getting married in June in the south of France, and I'm a bridesmaid. And my daughter is a flower girl, and my husband is the videographer. So we're very involved in this wedding. And I'm very scared to go to the south of France in June because I absolutely can't stand hot weather, but we're gonna suck it up for the wedding. It's gonna be wonderful, but I'm slightly scared about how hot I'm gonna be. Anyway, yeah, so I would like to make for her and her husband the Stella Quilt cushion by Laura Penrose. And I've had this idea for since last June. So it'll be a year before her wedding that I had this idea. And I decided to pick the colors that are going to be the colors of her bridesmaids. So this is her inspiration photo for what the bridesmaids are going to wear. And she has, how many of those are there? 5? There's 4 girls, and then her brother is also kind of in the bridal party as a bridesmaid, but male version. I don't really know what you would call that. It's not really a groomsman because it's on her side, but anyway, so he's in it, and then there's four of us girls going to be wearing different colors. And I'm the yellow one, of course. I picked the yellow color, and then one of the other girls is pink, one of the other girls is blue, and then the other girl hasn't chosen yet if she's going to be purple or green. But basically, Elena has given us the choices between all of those colors, and she just wanted each of us to be a different color or shade. So yeah, yellow, pink, and blue for sure, and then possibly either purple or green are the colors. And I don't really know what her brother is doing. Maybe he's going to have an accent color or something. Anyhow, I want to make the cushion in her bridal party colors for her house. So I picked up a bunch of different colors from Flock in a bunch of different, a bunch of different brands basically. And this is kind of my chance to try out a bunch of brands that I've never tried before and into one project and see kind of what I like working with, without having to commit to one for like a full sweaters quantity of like one type, which was kind of fun to go around and like choose from different booths. So I will show you the colors that I picked, and I will tell you my thought process in kind of what's going to happen. I don't have my main color yet. I'm just going to get like a cream, like a whiter cream, DK weight. I'm doing the DK version. There's a DK and Aran version of this pattern. I'm doing the DK version. So I'm going to get like a cream or a white for that. But here are my colors. And it's very Elena. It's very her. It's not necessarily very my palette, but I love that I'm working on this in the spring. So I'm going to have it finished by her wedding in June. That's my goal. And yeah, so I've got a mini Dye House Serial Knitters Underground blue. And for each of the mini skeins, I actually bought 3 of them because I didn't really know how much I would need. I think I have too much now, but I love scrappy projects. Like, I love working, especially for kids. You know, I could use one of these for the porcelain sweater or another scrappy, colorful project for my daughter in the future. So I have 3 of these, the blue one. I have a Coats & Co. mini, 3 of these as well in the color pistachio. This is a superwash merino. I have 3 of those. I have another green that, because I wasn't really sure about the green, I couldn't really tell. For some reason I was having a hard time seeing the colors of the greens properly in the venue. So I bought another green, and I don't have the label for this one, so I don't remember actually where it came from, but I have 3 of these as well. And it's a slightly darker, slightly more foresty green, and it's got more variegation than the pistachio. So here's both of them side by side. So I don't know whether I'm going to use both or just one in the project, but I'll decide on that later. I have this sort of light but highlightery pink also from Coats & Co. The color is light peach. I have 3 of those. And then I have this yellow from Sincere Sheep. This one is in the color Mrs. Fisher. So is that a character from something? I don't know. It's listed as a DK, but it's this one I'm a little bit unsure about because it is slightly thicker gauge than all the other ones. So we'll see. I didn't really notice that when I was buying it, but it does feel, I feel like it's a little bit more than DK, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And this is, oh, sorry, I should probably tell you the contents. Yeah, all of the Coats & Co. ones are superwash merino. This one, I don't know, but it is a DK merino. I remember that it was merino. This one is superwash merino as well. This one is 60% Rambouillet, 25% Huacaya alpaca, and 15% silk. So this is a quite different blend from the rest of them. And then I have the softest of all of them. This is the Fuzzy Peach Fibers Artisan Yarns. Ethereal DK Peach Moonstone is the color. It is 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. And this is the last one that I bought at Flock for this project. And I was like kind of on the hunt for a different pink from this one. And this was one of the last skeins actually from this booth that was available. So but this one's gorgeous. It is so luxuriously soft. I'm really excited to start working with that one. And then the last one, which I'm unsure whether I'm actually going to use for this project or not, is a Explorer Knits and Fibers Rockies DK 100% superwash merino in the colorway Bainbridge Island. And I bought this one first, actually, and now I don't know if I'm going to use it for the project because once all the other colors were purchased, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. This is kind of, it's got some variation in the color. There's purple, beige, and kind of yellowish in it. I will show you. Yeah, it's a very light purple with a kind of like darker yellow going into brown. And yeah, I liked the purple and the yellow in it. I thought that was really fitting for her bridal colors, but now that I see it next to everything else, I'm not so sure if it fits the vibe. We will see. So this is the one I'm unsure about, and these are the ones that I'm unsure about which one I'm going to use. Also, I'm kind of wondering whether these pinks actually will go well together, but I think once it's kind of, if they're not next to each other and it's in the, like, in the pillow in a more artistic way, like laid kind of in a sort of random way, but then without colors being too similar next to each other, it might work out really well. But I think what I'm going to do is just start with the squares, or start with the colors that I'm sure about that I want to use, and then go from there. So I don't know if I'm actually going to make a plan at the beginning of this color's going to go here and this color's going to go here. I think I'm just going to start and then see where it takes me. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. If you've knitted the Stella quilt cushion, I would love to know your thought process on how you decided on your colors, because I find, yeah, it was a little bit difficult to, it has been a little bit difficult to decide how I was going to like organize everything. So yeah, but I'm really excited about this project. So I think that I need to go to the yarn store and purchase my main color for the project, just a, you know, DK white. But after I do that, I think I'm just going to cast it on right away, because I want to take my time with it. I don't want to rush. And the wedding is in June, but I know that June feels far away now, but things will get in the way. I might get sick again and then I won't want to knit for a while, or I don't know, things happen. And this is a project that I really need to be on time with. So I'm going to cast it on quite soon. So yeah, those are my colorful plans for the next few months. Just chickadees. Okay. Yeah, just chickadees. Okay. And then I have a few book acquisitions that I want to talk to you about. They're knitting books. One of them I should have mentioned in my last video, because I actually got it for Christmas, but I forgot to bring it out and talk about it in my last video, so I'm just gonna tell you about it now. My husband got for me for Christmas the Moomin sock book. Yeah. So this is 29 original designs with charts of all Moomin themed socks, and we are big Moomin fans in this family. I have read the entire Moomin book series twice, and we have a small collection of Moomin mugs, the enamel mugs that we use for like camping and hiking and things like that. And I have my favorite mug that I bought in Sweden that I will basically never let anyone else use, because it's my special Moomin mug that I bought in Malmo, Sweden. And we've been to, my husband and I actually had the opportunity to go to Helsinki, Finland, and we went to the Moomin Cafe while we were there. So, yeah, and I've read books about Tove Jansson, the author of the Moomin series, so we're just, like, we're pretty big fans. I love Moomins. My husband has grown to love Moomins, and my daughter is now loving Moomins. She's got, like, a Moomin stuffy that she really likes, and we read the books to her. We have a few of, like, the picture book versions of the novels for smaller children, and she loves them. She loves Moomin. Some of these patterns also have child sizes, so that's really exciting. They, I can knit some for her as well, but let me just show you a few of the patterns. And what's fun about this too is that, like, some of them are very obviously Moomin, and then some of them are more Moomin inspired, so it doesn't feel like it's, like, you could just wear it and have it be a nice sock without it being, like, cartoony, if that makes sense. Okay, let me see which ones I want to show. Okay, Mimble's Herb Garden. I like this one a lot. That one's really pretty. The Hemulin's Garden. See, this is one that I feel like isn't obviously Moomin themed, but is really pretty. And it's got color work and lace in it, which is very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that in a sock before. Christmas is coming. Yeah, this one is another one with color work and lace, and then it also has the Moomin character and a Christmas tree on it. Oh, the Moomin House socks. This is a classic. Some of them are like too crazy for me, to be honest. Some of them are kind of spooky. Like Beware of the Groke, which is kind of a creepy character in the series, but I don't love these. Groke is actually, like, she's not a bad character, she's just creepy. Snufkin goes fishing. I think this may be the only sock pattern that actually has Snufkin in it, which is kind of, if you know the Moomin series, that's a little bit surprising because he's one of the most loved characters. Ooh, and then this one, it's called A Sock for You, and it's got Sniff on it. The character on it is Sniff, but you can put your initial on the sock as well. So it actually shows you the chart for every single letter in the alphabet to put your own initial on it. Anyway, that's enough of that. I think this is one of those heirloom things that I'll have in my knitting collection, or my knitting book collection for forever. And, you know, I could knit these socks for my children and my grandchildren, and like it'll just be a really fun thing. Like, wouldn't it be fun to like let your kid, I mean, my daughter's a little bit too young to have preferences or make decisions about things. She doesn't really understand this or this yet. It's like I'll ask her, do you want pancakes? And she can say yes or no. But if I say, do you want pancakes or yogurt? She doesn't really know what to do with the or. So choices are not really a thing that she's into yet. But when she gets a bit older, it will be so fun to be like, flip through the book, choose a sock pattern that you want, and mommy will make it for you. And so I think that'll be really fun. Okay, and then I have two more quick book acquisitions. These are both thrifted books that I got for $2 each, I think, at my local Mission thrift store. And they are older knitting books, but I, like, whatever. The techniques don't change that drastically. And honestly, it's great to have, like, a sort of a vintage collection, vintage books in your collection, so that it can help you understand, like, older patterns as well. Anyway, this book... Okay, the first one is Sweater Design in Plain English by Maggie Rigetti. And it was published in 1990, and the price on the back is $23.95. But I got it for like $2 or $3, I think. And it basically shows you how to make sweaters, like design sweaters from scratch. And it shows you, it talks about gauge, it talks about different types of fiber, different types of stitches, how different types of fiber should be paired with different types of stitches. Like, there's a lot of information in here. A lot. It's a thick book. Look, there's like diagrams of how fits will fit. It's crazy. There's just so much info in here, and like construction techniques as well. Yeah, anyway, this is a really good reference book. I think it's one of those things that I won't just sit down and read the whole thing through at once, but I will go through and see. Yeah, there's like help with math and everything too, which is some of the most intimidating parts about designing for me, is the math that goes into it. Although I do get a lot of help from my husband because he's a math tutor. Yeah, anyway, very interesting, lots of information, very thick book. How many pages are in this book? Let me check. 400. There's like about 400 pages in this book. So, very good. The second book that I picked up from the thrift store is Knitting in the Old Way, Designs and Techniques from from Ethnic Sweaters. And this book was originally published in 1985, but it has been revised, and this copy is from 2005. So yeah, this is a really interesting book as well. It has a lot of like traditional techniques. So here's one of the pages on Norway and like a traditional Norwegian style sweater. So stuff like that, that's quite interesting. There's some beautiful sketches in here. Yeah, Norway, Sweden. Oh, there's a bunch of different styles from different countries. So like Sweden has like a bunch of different styles. Great Britain. Fair Isle sweater in Gansey construction. Ooh, Sami-inspired tunic sweaters. That's quite interesting. Faroe Islands, yeah, okay. Modern Icelandic yoke sweaters. Cowichan sweaters of Canada. Haha, we're in here. That's so nice. That's really cool that that was included. I've never done any Cowichan style knitting, but I actually do have, I own some patterns in Cowichan style. Yeah, I'll stop flipping through. But anyway, there's a lot of different ethnic groups and countries represented in the styles of knitting in this book, and I didn't even go through most of them just now. So that will be really interesting to flip through and learn about different types of knitting from different countries, and that's just something that I'm quite interested in because of the amount of travel that I've been privileged enough to do in my lifetime. So yeah, that's my last acquisition for this episode, and I'm sorry this has been quite long, I feel like, this particular episode, because I have a lot to say about the current knits that I'm working on. My tea's cold. Of course it is. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I think my next episode will be something a little bit more special, because it'll be a year from when I started my knitting podcast. So I am planning something a little bit special for that kind of 1 year anniversary video. And so I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys again very soon. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know if you are craving anything more colorful in this season, because I definitely have found myself being drawn to spring. I do love spring. I have a lot of anxiety over summertime, but I love autumn, winter, and spring. And usually at this time of the year, this kind of, we're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. This transition between winter and spring time is one of my favorites, because I love the still, crisp, cool, frosty mornings, but then also snowdrops, Galanthus nivalis, poking through the snow or poking through the ground, preparing, and kind of, they're announcing the coming of spring, the coming of hope, the coming of new life and new renewal. Yeah, so anyway, we're almost there. We're almost in that transition period between winter and spring, at least where I live in British Columbia. And I'm really excited for that. And I'm excited for 1 year on YouTube, and I'm excited for what's to come. And I'm excited to hear about what you guys are working on and how you're doing. And thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you've given me and all of this that you've contributed to the interaction between me and you. And yeah, I hope you're having a lovely February. See you later.